transfer freeze after the restructuring. Zuckerberg shared that the company will now focus on having a more optimal ratio of engineers. Facebook's parent company may cut jobs in the recruiting and business verticals. As Meta makes more organizational changes, Zuckerberg is encouraging his employees to meet in person and build trust and move away from the hybrid work model. I'm going across to my colleague Raksha, who's giving us more details of what Mark Zuckerberg's letter to all Meta employees entails.
Well, the bloodbath across tech continues. This is not the first time. This is the second time around that Meta has announced another round of tech layoffs, which includes 10,000 jobs that will be cut. And Mark Zuckerberg has also announced that 5,000 of the open jobs will again be shut for hiring. Now, of course, in his post on Facebook, he shared leaner is better. And what he's trying to do is calling 2023 the year of efficiency, and has said that they are planning to cut a lot of middle managers out from their system. Now, he is also, this is of course as a result of the fact that during the pandemic, they ended up overhiring because there was a lot of demand for Meta services. Meta is the same platform under which Mark Zuckerberg runs Facebook, Instagram, as well as WhatsApp services. Now, not just that, it led to a 30% increase in headcount in 2020 and another 23% increase in 2021. After which, when the ad sales and revenue of the company started falling, the best answer that he could find was to lay off employees, which he did last year, where 11,000 Meta employees were laid off. And this time again, now he's announced 10,000 layoffs for Meta.
All right, Aditya Narayan Mishra, Director and CEO of SEAL HR Services, with me. Mr. Mishra, you know, if you go through Mark Zuckerberg's statement, and actually it's a communique to Meta employees that he's put out on Facebook citing transparency, he keeps talking about flattening the workspace and flattening the work models. What it seems like, lesser managers, fewer layers. Do you think that's a direction that a lot of companies in this space globally and here in India are also going to take?
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the smart ways of delayering the organization and getting the productivity up. But this may not be the long-term solution to the challenges that they are facing. Because in my mind, the challenge is about stagnating revenues, advertisers going into different product platforms other than what Meta is offering. That's the core of the issue. Of course, the second one is about the overhiring that they had done in anticipation of a huge upswing of revenues. So the first piece, they did a huge layoff trying to correct the cost structures. Now the second time that they are doing in a major scale is to delayer the organization. But after you have delayered the organization, sometimes this becomes very difficult to manage when the organization is of huge size. With so many different units, how do you coordinate efforts amongst different units, and how do
you know what I don't understand, Mr. Mishra, is that this company laid off 13% of its workforce 4 months ago.
Yeah.
So one of two things: either they didn't figure out how many people they need to let go, or the situation has worsened in the last 4 months. Which one, in your view, is it?
I think the situation has not improved. They were still thinking that advertisers' revenue will go up, but it hasn't. So that's the main issue. And to some extent, that they didn't want to fire at one go, because you know the headcount of the organization has grown up by about 50% over the last 2 years. So at one go, if they do such a huge layoff, from an optics perspective, it doesn't look good, and the stock would have possibly been beaten a lot more significantly. That's why possibly they had to do it in phases.
No, the other sort of interesting, noteworthy parts of that letter, one is the insistence of let's please work face to face. It builds trust. So a clear signal that you're moving away from remote working, work from home, all of that is ending at one of the largest tech companies in the world. And also a reorientation and alignment to being a tech company led by engineers.
Yeah, it does provide that signal. I feel some of it is also to manage the perception of the market, the investors about Meta as a platform. So they are possibly trying to kind of build a perception amongst investors and amongst many other stakeholders that things will become better. The interventions today are going to give them results. So it is also more about how do you manage the expectations of others of Meta. But I think the main issue is, like I said, the product itself. It's now a fairly mature product. It needs little more injection of innovation, something new which will appeal to the mass. I think that's the main issue that they need to figure it out. If this delayering really helps them, sometimes it does. The innovation becomes easier when the organization gets delayed. However, it needs careful navigation. I hope that Meta is able to navigate that.
That also stood out for me is that clearly Meta is responding to situations that are global and outside of their control, because Mark Zuckerberg says he sees this continuing for several years. By the way, it's gone down well with investors. The Meta stock in trade up 6%. So this announcement that they're firing 10,000 people and will not fill up 5,000 positions is something that has actually gone down well with investors. So tough times really for that space. Thank you so much, Aditya Narayan Mishra, for joining us.